All right, here we are again. And in the book, run actions, or the turn sequence, and then the actions. And the turn sequence is basically where everything happens as far as multiple characters in the round. So the first thing that happens is we think back to the character record sheet, and the characters act in the initiative order. And that is converted down to speed, and we had Slick's speed down as 5. And if there's any ties with multiple characters, it goes to the initiative, and then if that's still tied, you're going to just do a dice off and that person goes first. And that is the turn sequence in a nutshell. Is you're taking your actions based on speed, and that's evened out by or decided by the initiative. Or you decide not to take your action. You can hold off until later in the round if you wish, because it's just going to work down from the highest speed to the lowest speed. What I've done for my demo games is I've created this demo tracker, just basically a turn order tracker, which on one side it has the character and their initiative and any other notes and speed written down. And then I put this stack of all the characters in order, followed up by the end of the turn, which I have a card that sits at the bottom of the deck that just goes over everything you have to do at the end of the turn. So I have a nice stack, depending on how many characters there are, and then I just work my way through it. And if somebody doesn't want to take their full action, they hold off to the side, and they are aware of what's going on, and they need to jump in if they decide they want to take an action before somebody else. That's that bit. All right, what I've done here is set up a bit of what's going on for the actions. I have my deck here with all the different characters in it, and here's Slick, and his turn has come up. Slick is here, and he needs to decide what his actions are going to be. He has 5 actions. And we'll go through and break down what you can do as far as an action. But we could say that Slick is going to run to the stairs, and then he's going to climb the stairs, get to the top, and he's going to pause for breath, which is an action that you can do to sort of decide what to do later with the later actions. So let's start him a little bit closer here. So we're going to roll his 5 actions, and anything over a 4 succeeds. So he gets 1 action. Now, if I would have rolled no actions over 4, he would still get 1 action. You always get 1 action. So he only gets 1 action the first turn that comes to him. And I had said that he was going to run. So running is 6 yards. So he's going to run 6 yards. So he didn't make it to the stairs. If he would have got more actions, he would have got more done. So we can take that back and roll again. And here we got 3 actions. And we're going to, the first action is going to be the running, the 6 inches, boom. The second action is going to be the climbing upstairs, which is, it's just stairs. So he's just walking basically up the stairs, which is 4 yards. So he'll walk up 4 yards. And then we'll have to finish walking up the stairs. And there he is at the top of the stairs. And during your action, you can face in any direction at the end of it. I put these markers on the front. You have a 45-degree arc of facing. So he's going to the top of the stairs, and he is going to stand there and look over this area by this transport. And then he'll decide what he was going to do. If I would have rolled more successes on his 5 dice, I could have. Well, he would have taken his pause for breath, and that would have used an action. Although some people can have that as a special ability where they get a free pause for breath. He does not. So if I had another success, he could have did that, but then he would have been used up. But if you take a pause for breath, you can look all the way around and look everywhere, and you're listening and everything else, which we'll cover during awareness. So that's what happened. If I would have rolled less, he would have not made it all the way up to the stairs. If he was going upstairs to shoot somebody, he might not have got all the way up there. So that's how actions work in a nutshell. It's just you're rolling for your speed, and everything over. Let's restart him here again. Everything over that is everything over 4 is a success. Now, there's a thing called a risky actions. And risky actions, sprinting is you're putting your head down and running straight ahead. Sprinting is a risky action because something could go wrong. Running or jumping over space in the building could be a risky action. Running down the stairs, I would say running down the stairs is a risky action. So if he was up here and he was going to run back down, if you fell downstairs, you know this. You need to be careful when you're going downstairs. So if you were to run down the stairs at the 6 inches, well, he's up here. He's going to run back down and go inside the building to find a better way through. Or maybe he's going to run down and go check out the ship. That might be better. So you can discuss this with your GM and set these cards aside. And he's going to run down the stairs and go to the ship and see what's going on over there at that ship, investigate the that transport. So he's got 5 dice. This is the next turn. He's going to run down the stairs. He's not going to sprint down the stairs, would give you 10 inches, but he's going to run down the stairs, which is 6 inches. And that's about right. Yeah, 6 inches would get him down the stairs. So he's going to run down the stairs, and then he's going to go over to the ship. He's going to run over to the ship and see if it's unlocked. We'll just go with that. Run down the stairs, then he's going to sprint over to the ship, and then he's going to check the ship and see if it's unlocked, see if he can get into it. Maybe he wants to get out of here. So you got 5 dice. A risky action. So a risky action means if you roll more 1s than 6s, you have a risky action, meaning something bad happens. And hopefully the GM has thought about what that's going to be, or you've discussed it. And I would say running down the stairs, he could fall down the stairs and take damage. So we roll, we get no 1s, which is nice. We get 2 successes. This side hit. So you get 2 successes. Let's go ahead and call it 3 successes, just because we can go through this. So he's running down the stairs. It was a risky action, but he made it. That was one of his actions. The next action, he was going to sprint, which is 10 inches over to here. We'll go ahead and get 1 more success here. So he's going to sprint over there, which was a risky action as well. He could have slipped. And then he's going to, the last 2 actions, one is going to be walking up to the ship, which is just the 4 inches for just walking up. So he could just ran up to it, but he's going to go up there. And now it comes to a skill test. And we're going to go ahead and jump into that. And this is a sagacity test, sagacity. So we are going to get 2 dice, and he's going to see if he can unlock that ship. And his sagacity, again, is 64. So he is going to make the rolls, hit the ship, to see if he can unlock it. You know, he's going to jump. He's going to try to steal this thing. So he's going to see if he can unlock it. And he rolls a 10 and a 6, so a 16. Yes, he unlocks that ship. That's an action. Boom. We'll go through what other actions you can do, but this is just jumping right into what goes on. All right, so that was a quick run through of how things work in the turn sequence. You can think of the actions are what the things you can do. And what you would do is before you roll, this is the turn order of the turn sequence. Before you roll, you know how many actions you have. You can look at the table and see what kind of movement you can do. I mean, actions could be movement, changing out your weapon. You can change out a weapon for free. You can do both things at once, unless you are doing something where you're trying to do two things at once, like run and shoot. Then it's going to be more difficult. But you're going to take your actions. You're going to think about that. You're going to tell your DM what you're going to do. I'm going to run across and try to get in that ship. I'm open that ship up. I want to see what's going on there. And so my actions would be to run, or maybe I want to try to get there faster because I know I'm farther away. So sprint, and then I'm going to walk up, run the rest of the way up to it and unlock it, which is a sagacity test. And if I have any more actions, I'm going to pause for breath. That would leave me a potential last action. You can change your actions. You're going to have to make a test to change your actions after you're down the road. Say you're going to shoot somebody. That person already fell down the stairs and you got to do something else. You're not going to totally lose your actions. That's why you have a GM. It's a game with the GM. And you sort of work through that. Then after you've decided what you think you're going to do, you're going to roll, and you're just going to work through the sequence of what you said you're going to do in that order. If there's a risky action that takes place during that thing that you're doing, that's risky. If you fail that test, if more ones come up than sixes in your roll, if you fail all your rolls, you still get one action. Pausing for breath is really nice if you have the actions to do it. And that's where it sort of goes into the speed thing. The more, the higher your initiative, the quick thinkers, they have more options. They just do. Or they could be as big of a brute, maybe not, but they can think through. They have more of a chance. And so you should always roll all your dice just to give yourself the extra things to do. Other actions I'm trying to think of. Walking up and going into a computer, talking to somebody else. If there's a non-player character on the table, or some kind of servo, or some other kind of droid, or something that you want to try to autonomous that you want to try to get to do something. Breaking into a rig. Anything you can think of. Jumping over a crevasse, running up the stairs, jumping off the stairs. All that is part of an action. Casting a psychic power, when we get to that, doing that would be an action. Pausing for breath and just listening, because depending on what other things are doing, you might or may not hear them. There's range distances and how noisy you could be. You could crawl across the floor up to the stairs if you don't want to be hit. You could evade, which if somebody's watching an area, and you were evading, it's going to cause them a harder chance to hit you. Not that it's totally combat, it's just what's going on. All right, one more shot from the book, just so I didn't forget anything. So I talked about the actions, and if you're going to sprint, and what kind of risky action. Firing a plasma weapon is a risky action. It could melt your hand. It could melt your arm off. Throwing a grenade, you could drop that at your feet and blow yourself up, or your friends. That's a risky action. You can draw and change your weapon. It's not risky. It's just an action. But changing out this weapon for that weapon, that's one action. Switching hands, not really an action. You can sort of do that when you're moving. Combining actions, if it really gets to where you're doing two things that are different at once, you're going to divide your chance in half on the percentages of if you have to make any kind of tests. And it could be risky. Pausing for breath is just going to give you a chance to stop, look around, and listen. Or you can get a full 360-degree arc that you can see that's not just your 45-degree. And you can change your action, and that is going to cause you to probably lose an action to go, hey, wait, I got to do something else because that whole situation changed. And when we get into that, let me see, turn sequence. So actions, pausing for breath are the main things that are going to go on in the turn sequence. There's the end of the turn, which, let me see, I put here. There we go. So the end of the turn actions. If you're burning, there's a 25% chance it stops burning, so you're going to be rolling for that. Recovering damage. If you're bleeding, how much more do you bleed at the end of the turn? You add that up. Any kind of stims or drugs that you're taking could be wearing off. If there's a gas cloud, does it move on? Does it dissipate? If there's any kind of persistent psychic powers, that would be taken care of at the end of the turn as well. That's why I have this this card to tell me at the end of all the actions. And when we get into a little bit more of the combat and stuff like that, I'm going to have more than one figure out, and we'll go through that. But it's just going to take longer for me to set up. I'm still working towards my 2 weeks until I do my tournament. So I just wanted to hit actions. That takes care of it, I believe. The next thing we'll be getting into would be the movement, which we can probably get through pretty easy. And then we're getting into shooting at people or shooting at things. And then close combat after that, which is probably going to be a long video. And after we get through that, I think we'll be getting pretty far down the line into hit points and wounding and all that. You know, another 6 or so videos we'll be going through to where we can sort of get more of a demo going, and I'm looking forward to that. Thanks for watching.